I do want to talk about two little end credits scenes that we have here. That's right, there are two end credits scenes in this movie. And the first one we get is the heavy hitter, in my opinion. Sonic's running through the forest, and he eventually runs into trouble when a character that you may know from the series teleports into this world. And I think it might be through time travel or something in alternate dimensions or something. I'm not sure yet, but it's Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic comes and challenges Sonic, who ends up getting more than what he bargained for. Metal Sonic clones himself multiple times, and there's a whole army of robots against Sonic. However, at the last minute, he is saved by a pink hedgehog you may know by the name of Amy Rose. And that is the big tease we get at the end of this movie. Now, unlike the first two movies where I fully knew going in that Tails was going to be in it, teased in the first movie, and Shadow teased in the second movie, I had no idea going in that Metal Sonic and Amy were going to appear at the end here. I kind of had speculations of who would show up, and if you're going to go down the line of Sonic characters as far as importance / popularity, Amy and Metal Sonic, they're probably going to fall in there pretty close behind Shadow. But it was really cool to see them. Amy kind of has like a cloak on, and she takes her hood down, which kind of implies that she's part of some resistance in the future, which makes me think this is going to be more of a time travel angle, but I don't know. So that begs the question, what's next for the Sonic movie series? Well, of course, there's the Knuckles the Echidna show. I personally haven't seen it. I'm not so sure I will. I don't think I'll do a Nerd Theater on it unless there's a big call for it. I kind of just wanted to focus on the movies here. But there is that. But as far as the movie series itself goes, where do we go now? Well, I have some theories. As a longtime Sonic fan, I do have some ideas of where they could possibly take this series. So we, of course, have now teased Amy Rose and Metal Sonic in this movieverse. And I think where they could go with this, there's a couple ways they could go with this. And I think it's going to be kind of a combination. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 pulled a lot from Sonic Adventure 2, like I mentioned previously. But I think Sonic the Hedgehog 4, the movie, is going to kind of do a blend. I think it's going to pull from quite a few games, because I feel like audience members are deep into this series enough. I feel like they have a built-in base where they're going to be able to take more liberties with the movie storyline and start to kind of take more from the games themselves and trust the audience to be able to follow along with the video game lore, I guess you could say. And so I think the most natural progression would be to go with Sonic CD, which of course was an original Sonic platformer. I believe it took place, I think it came out after Sonic 2 and in between that and Sonic 3, if I'm remembering right. And so that was the first game to include Amy Rose and Metal Sonic, and it also included time travel, the future and past elements of each level, which is a really cool idea in that game. And I do think they're going to utilize that here, which makes me think, because Amy and Metal Sonic are both going to be in the next movie, it makes me feel like they are going to go the time travel route. However, that doesn't leave it closed to just Sonic CD. Metal Sonic has appeared in a big way in Sonic Heroes as well, and I think there's a good chance that they're going to take some story elements from Sonic Heroes. Now, I don't think they're going to do the team thing outside of Team Sonic, but I do think they're going to have like a giant metal overlord version of Metal Sonic somewhere towards the end. I don't know for sure, but that does seem to be a possibility, especially with the clone army of Metal Sonic being teased at the end, as well as the implication of Amy Rose being part of some sort of resistance team from a future dimension or some other realm beyond our world. So I think that's where they could go with it. But as long as time travel's on the table, I think there's a possibility we might get an appearance from Silver the Hedgehog and maybe even Blaze the Cat. They're not the most popular Sonic characters, but they do have their fans. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they'll make an appearance here, especially because while only Tails was teased in the original Sonic movie, Knuckles eventually appeared in Sonic 2 as well. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that Silver would also make a piggyback appearance on top of Amy and Metal Sonic, especially because the human characters in the movies, I said in the last review for Sonic 2 that the human characters take more of a backseat in that movie. The same is twice as true here. There's barely any screen time for Tom and Maddie, which is a bit of a double-edged sword. I do like those characters. I do want to see them involved more, but it is cool that they are taking more stock in Sonic original characters in the following films. So I think that they're probably going to double down on that and probably maybe introduce a character like Silver or maybe Blaze, if not and Blaze. So I think that's a possibility. So they might be pulling a little bit from the Sonic 06 storyline. I doubt we're going to see Princess Elise or anything like that. But I do think Silver and Blaze is a possibility. Also, I didn't mention yet, but there's also another tacked on end credits scene where we see that Shadow the Hedgehog himself has been resurrected. Not resurrected. He just survived the self-sacrifice. So that makes sense to me. I can totally see why they would want to bring Shadow back because he's such an in-house, huge name for the Sonic series. They'd kind of be foolish to have him killed off in this movie. Although part of me does wish they kind of would have, because Sonic Adventure 2, they originally planned on he's going to be dead. Like, after that game, we're never going to see him again. But then they introduced him again in Sonic Heroes. I think that was a smart move for the game series, but it honestly would have been nice to see them stick to that original plan, just doing it in the movieverse. Because I feel like there's enough Sonic characters now. We don't need Shadow per se, in my opinion. But I totally get why they're bringing him back, and I hope that Keanu comes back as well, because I enjoyed his performance here, and I think Shadow would fit in well in the next movie's plot, whatever that may be. However, one character I definitely hope does not come back is Dr. Eggman. Now, as much as I love Jim Carrey in these movies, as great as I think he is in that role, his final scene in this movie was pretty impactful, and I hope that they stick to their guns with that. Obviously, they could just be leaving it open-ended, just in case Jim Carrey wants to come back. I know he's discussed in interviews that he would come back if given the opportunity. It does seem like he enjoys playing this character, and he probably does enjoy the Sega/Paramount paychecks that come in, which who could blame him? But I do hope that they stick to their guns and keep him dead for good, because there's a whole rogue gallery of villains that you could pick from in the Sonic series. Obviously, Eggman is the big bad, but I think it'd be a satisfying trilogy for Eggman. I think having him kind of tap out, so to speak, in this third movie would leave room for villains like Metal Sonic. And other villains like that. I don't know who they'd do in following movies. I'm not sure. And while Eggman's presence would be missed, I do think these movies have gotten to a point where they can survive without him. I don't think they are so much relying on the star power of Jim Carrey anymore. I think it made more sense in the first two movies and in this movie. But, I mean, look at the box office numbers. If they announce a fourth Sonic movie's coming out, it's gonna do well, with or without Jim Carrey. So I won't be mad if he shows up in the fourth movie. I think he'll be right at home, and I love seeing Jim Carrey in these movies. I won't complain about seeing another great performance from him here, but I do think it would be a fitting end if this truly is it for Ivo Robotnik.